What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about goal setting. Well, more importantly than that, we're going to talk about goal achievement, because anybody can set goals, but the trouble is most people are doing it wrong, including you. So I want to walk you through some ways that you can really screw this up and some ways that you need to do it in order to actually accomplish whatever it is you set out on. We're coming up on a time of year where a lot of people will set goals, specifically New Year's. So many people set New Year's resolutions that really don't ever get them anywhere. There is a study out there that was by one of the big fitness app making companies where it showed that people would die off on their objectives, their New Year's resolutions, right around January 12th. 12 days into the process, they gave up. 12 days is a very short period of time, but it feels like in that all they really lost was momentum. The results weren't coming fast enough. They couldn't see what they were after. Maybe the goal was ambiguous in the first place, and they ultimately just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna go back there. So the first thing that you need to understand when it comes to having a New Year's resolution or a goal is to actually set one. See, most people don't have goals, they've got ideas. A goal is something very specific. A goal is something you can measure that says, I did it or I didn't do it. But most people say things like, I want to lose weight, or I want to make more money, or maybe I want to have better relationships. Whatever those are all ambiguous. They're vague and confusing, and your mind just can't grab onto them. And so you wind up doing some things that you think kind of might have sort of fit into what you ultimately want to get out of this, but in reality don't really get you anywhere. So thing number one that you need to do is have a clearly defined objective, something that you'll know you're able to hit or not hit. Second part, write it down. Write it down. Put it on a piece of paper and write it down. Put it into the universe this way. There was a study that was done at one of the big Ivy League schools that was published in the New York Times maybe a dozen years ago or so, but it showed these people. So there was 1,000 people that they take New Year's resolutions. They took half of these people and they said, just think about one. Just think about what it is you want to accomplish. The other half, they said, write it down. Write down what your resolution is. And they went back to these people in 6 months, and the half that said, hey, this is what I'm thinking about, 4% of them were still on track versus 44% of the people who wrote it down. That simple act, it's a neuromotor activity of writing out what it is you say you want to do, helps you get better at actually accomplishing what it is you want to do. Third piece of this, you got to measure your progress. You can't just look at the end. So often we look at the big picture, right? The goal that we want to have. Let's say you want to lose 20 pounds by June 30th of the next year. You'll look at that 20 pounds and that will be the only thing that you can see that says this was success. Even though there's a lot of success that happens along the way, isn't there? But you don't often see it because you're not measuring your progress along the way. You're not setting any micro goals and micro commitments where you'll know that you're on track without having hit the big goal yet. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is through the process of measurement. And the only way you're going to be able to have a process of measurement is if you've got a goal that's actually some form of measurable objective. Lose 20 pounds by this time, not just lose weight. Make an extra $250,000 next year. Not just, I want to make more money next year. There's got to be something on this. Fourth and final piece of this that I want to give you is to set a timeline. You got to set a timeline on the things that you want to accomplish. It's not just enough to make it measurable. It's not just enough to make it specific. You've got to set a timeline on this. And the trouble that people have with timelines is, one, they don't set one. You just say, I want to lose weight in this time. Maybe they're more specific. I want to lose 20 pounds. And that's it. They don't have any specific timeline to it. And with that, there's nothing to attach it to. There's no framework. Picture some type of a sporting event, like a football game, without a defined field. Makes it really difficult to say, this is what's going to happen. We know who wins a football game by who's got more points than the other one on the scoreboard when the timer hits zero. The timer hits zero is a really important part of that. Otherwise, the game would just be going and going and going and going. Very similar to the way that you look at the time you set your goals, you've got to have a timeline. Second problem with timelines is people will set them way too short. I'm going to lose 20 pounds in a month. That's possible, maybe, but you're going to have to work your ass ass off in order to get there. You're going to have all sorts of professionals helping you out, from a dietitian to a trainer to a statistician. Everybody's going to need to help you with that. It's highly unlikely that that's going to work. So you set too short a timeline, you don't hit your goal, you get frustrated, you get pissed off, and you turn right back around. Third thing with timelines is they're too long. I'm going to lose 20 pounds inside of 2 years. That's a pretty easy thing to accomplish. And when you set a timeline that's too long, what the challenge is there's no urgency for you to be able to go after it. So you think, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow you think, I'll do it tomorrow. And the day after that you think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Doesn't get you where you want to go because there's no urgency around it. So you got to find the Goldilocks zone for your time frames on this whole thing. So let's review really quick all the things that need to go down in order for you to actually have a successful goal setting progress and probably get past the 12th day of January when everybody else's New Year's resolutions go away to die. So the first thing is actually have a goal that is not vague and confusing. Make one specific. Write it down. Write down that goal that you've got. Measure your progress. And finally, create a timeline. It's a Goldilocks timeline, not too long, not too short. If you just do those 4 things, I promise you, your goals are going to be achieved much more rapidly, and you're going to feel a lot better about them as you go along the process. So go ahead and take this and implement it. Don't just watch this video and then move on to the next video. Like, stop, turn YouTube off right now, just for a short time. Don't have to turn it off forever. Just turn it off for maybe 10 minutes and just work on this stuff. Set a goal, write it down, put a timeline on it. And then you can go through the process of measuring it. But I promise you, if you do those things, your next year will be everything you want it to be.